We're going to move on to the next session. This is now a presentation from our sponsors of this forum. It's IFC Edge. This is the implementation of green building in West Africa, an IFC Edge case study. It will be presented by Dennis Papa, IFC Green Building Lead for Ghana and Nigeria, and he'll be taking us through a case study of IFC's work in the region.
Good afternoon. So, my name is Dennis, and I lead the Green Building program in Ghana. I will make this very short. I'm here today to discuss with you what IFC is doing when it comes to green building and climate-related projects. So, I'll start with just a little overview of what we do. IFC is basically the private sector development arm of the World Bank Group. We have other agencies that also work under the World Bank Group, but then we focus just on the private sector. And green buildings is one of the areas that we look at. I mean, overall, we are very interested in climate smart sectors. We work in clean energy, we do climate smart cities, we do green finance, and then we do climate smart agri as well. But then green buildings is one of the areas that over time, and in the last few years, we've really increased our focus in. Now, the past year was one of IFC's strongest years for green building investments. We invested about 1.4 billion USD in green building investment all over the world. And we are looking at improving that over the years. We have plans to actually grow that portfolio in the next few years to come. And most of this investments we are planning will be in Africa, where we see that the growth rate will be the highest when it comes to emerging markets. Now, globally, the investment opportunity that we see for green building is up to about 16.3 trillion. That's by the year 2030. And if you look at the last slide over there, you see that for sub-Saharan Africa, we're looking at about 150 billion USD. And so it all points to the fact that it's a very huge area that we really need to focus on. And there's a lot of stuff that we can do there. Now, why is IFC so interested in green buildings? We see that all the stakeholders that are involved in the building sector really stand to benefit. When you look at a developer, he tends to differentiate his project and also to add profit as he's able to sell faster and easier. For banks, they're able to do a lot more transactions, and then it's also at less risk because these projects are already green. It's future-proof and all that. For owners, it's very easy. They would enjoy lower utility bills. They would have very safe places of abode and all that. So all of these have a role to play, and we believe that we need to work so much in that area. So what IFC has done is to come up with a strategy on how we're going to push green buildings in emerging economies. And the very first step we're looking at is investment and advisory for banks. What we as IFC invest, as I mentioned, we invest a lot in real estate, in developing countries, and we are looking at how we can channel our investments into some of these projects. How can we link up with financial institutions to come up with certain innovative products that would help push the sector. We are also investing directly in projects. So at the moment, for any real estate project to be funded by IFC, one of the first steps is it has to be certified green. If it's not certified, we won't even start the conversation. So that's one thing we are looking at, and also to come up with cheaper sources of funds for projects that want to be built green. This provides an incentive for developers to go into that sector. And the other aspect we do is, I work with governments. We provide advisory and then help governments come up with incentive for the sector to grow. Most of the work we've done is around building codes and then also advisory. And our flagship one is the air certification, because we realize that developers in emerging economies, although they want to get something to show that their projects are built green, the alternatives were a bit expensive and it didn't suit what they wanted. So we came up with something that was supposed to be very friendly to the emerging economies, and so we came up with the air certification. Now I will just spend a little time to talk about what the air certification. It's a software, is a standard air certification system. Now the software is able to give developers, a measurable solution. They're able to actually determine how they can be able to build green. And it's very easy, by just ensuring that your project is 20% energy efficient, 20% water efficient, and 20% efficient in the body energy on the materials. You're able to prove it. And once it's done, we provide you a certificate. So this is how the software looks like. This is just a snapshot of the software. It shows you, that you're able to cut back on the resource intensity of your building. And the interesting thing is you don't even need to finish building before you can get the certificate. You're able to use the software to help in your design. So right from day one, you're able to know what you can do to cut back on your energy intensity and all that. And as I said, once the project is done, we give you the certificate and we do a project study. At the moment, we have about 3 million square meters that has been certified, and we want to push further and then ensure that in the next few years we will be able to get a lot more projects to be certified. And how do we do this? We realize that financing is really a major role, and one area that IFC has been focusing on is green bonds. All over, for the past few years, there's been some bonds that have been raised. In 2017 alone, the world about 155 billion USD dollars were raised in green bonds. IFC contributed about 17.5 billion of this amount, and we want to look at that. And Edge really is a contributing factor to it, because you are able to use Edge in all the processes. You can use Edge as a criteria for these green bonds. You can use it as a second opinion, and then also for the allocation process and the reporting. Because Edge has a section where you're able to report on the CO2 emissions and all that, which is very important to these investors. So we are still tweaking the software to be able to do a lot more than that. We will look at a few case studies. So this is a project by IHS, International Housing Solution, based in South Africa, who IFC invested some money in. Because we realized that apart from IHS, there are a lot more investment funds that are coming in, and they are looking at they are looking at using Edge for their property funds to show that to show compliance and to lower the risk and increase profitability and brand value for developers. Because most developers are able to show their clients that they are different when they do this. So when IHS, IHS invested 25 million USD, and at the moment, so what they are doing is they are only investing in real estate that can actually prove that they are going to be Edge certified. Now we have about 3,000 homes already certified. In their pipeline, they are looking at another 1,500 units to be certified. We are actually looking at working a lot more with some of these property funds to improve and then increase the number of projects that we have. Now, when it comes to hospitals, some people would ask why we would need to work to certify hospitals as well, or for hospitals to be built green. It's very important. It actually translates to saving lives. And I'll talk a little bit more about some of the hospitals, one of the hospitals that we certified. Because once hospitals are able to reduce or cut back on the energy, the energy used in the building, they're able to at least transfer this into other aspects like improving the quality of services that is going to be delivered. So we see it to be very, very important, and we place so much emphasis on it. Now for the hospital, the Kofa Noche mother and baby unit, this was done by the Rebecca Foundation, that's the First Lady of Ghana, and contractor was African Building Partners. This received certification early this year in January, and the energy savings for that was 56%. Water savings, they are looking at 73%, and for materials, they are looking at 42%. Now, the interesting thing is the increased cost in going green was around 3% overall. And they are looking at reducing or lowering their utility bills to about 23,000 USD. Now imagine what this can do for a project like that. And the things that they did was, they were very, very simple. They didn't go to so much great extent. For energy efficiency, these are some of the stuff that they did. Basically, all the lighting in the project was LED. Their air conditioning system was great. They had motion. Very, very simple thing. Now, Edge is able to let you see that you don't need to do so much or go to a very great extent for you to achieve green. The very little thing that you do can count to it. Now, for water, it was more about reducing their faucets, and also reducing the shower head, the volume of the shower heads, double flush, WCs. Very, very basic things were. So I'll show you a video of the tools, when the building was completed, how it looks like. And you realize that it's a very simple building with very normal building. So sometimes people think for a green building it should look differently from a normal building. It should have some very special views and all that. But it's very simple. Any building at all can be built green if you really look at the design and all that, then you are able to incorporate some of these innovations very early. So this was a picture that was taken during the launch of the program. We handed over the certificate to them on that day. And as you can see, in Africa, we always want to have a program for everything. So there was a very big launch for it, and people attended. Now, when it comes to warehouses, that's also another area that the EDGE program is looking at, because we've realized that now warehouses have changed from what it used to be. I mean, previously, when we talk about warehouse, we're looking at a place where you're going to store goods and all that. That has changed totally, and a lot more is being done in warehouses, and it's increased the energy usage in there. So if you're able to tweak things a little bit, you're able to reduce on your energy cost in there to be able to have a lot more profitability in there. So we believe that warehouses also do need to be built green. And one warehouse that one of the warehouses we certified in Africa is the AOQ warehouse. Actually, this project last week won an award for the best logistic projects in Africa during the Africa Property Awards. And it's a very simple project. They were able to achieve 42% energy savings, for water 49%, and then materials was 50%. Now the benefits that they look at, I mean, they thought would give them for building green was one, they wanted to conserve natural resource, and then also to reduce their operating cost, which they are, I mean, experiencing, because the project has actually been launched. It was launched a few months ago, and they are using it, and they are seeing the benefits now. And as you can see, I mean, just similar to the hospital, it didn't take too much for them to get it green. Very, very simple thing. They, I mean, had some skylights in the natural lighting. They added solar PV as well. And then for water, they made sure they had dual flush WC system. So if you look at it, I mean, it's very, very simple things that you can actually incorporate in your project to ensure that it's green. You really don't need to go to a very great extent. The CEO of Africa Logistic Properties, who developed this project, when he was interviewed, I mean, this is what he said, that we wanted a sustainable green building for 3 reasons. First, it's never been done before in Africa. Second, it adds value to our occupiers. And then third, it maintains a long-term value in our assets. So they view it as very important, and now, I mean, they have decided to ensure that all their projects that they do are going to be certified. And when it comes to hotel too, that's also one area that the software is able to help you to work on. We've seen that also really has a lot of importance. I mean, when you build green, you're able to attract environmentally responsible customers. And then also you are able to save money and then new business. A research was done on TripAdvisor, and then they realized that about 60% of travelers make eco-friendly choices when booking hotels. Maybe in our part of the world we don't be looking at that, but it's really happening. And if you also look at the utility bills for hotels, this statistic shows it ranges from about 6% to about 20% of the operating cost of the building. So if you're able to reduce your expenditure in that aspect, you can really get a lot more savings in there that can be pushed into other aspects of the project. And with that one too, really it's a no-brainer. The stuff that you need to do to tweak it, I mean, using the edge app is very, very simple. This technical solution is actually based on one hotel that was certified in Accra. And they also did very simple thing. They had efficient air conditioners, they minimized their light fittings, and they used the LED lamps. They had openable windows. It's now become very fashionable to have windows that can't be opened. It really doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's something that people are doing. They were able to use windows that we can open, and then smaller windows and then external shading. That was also one of the things. For water was the usual low flow shower heads, water efficient dual flush toilets, and water efficient dual flush toilets in the urinals and all the bathrooms. So when the property act is designed smart, I mean, hotel owners can be confident that energy and water savings will trigger greater profitability, and that's what it's all about. Because now the hotel industry is very competitive. You won't be able to increase your rates. So what you would have to look at is, can we reduce our operating costs so that we can maximize our profitability. So IFC is still working hard to come up with a lot more innovation. If we are now focusing a lot more on how we can get this green building certification to be taken on a mass adoption. So we are pushing for affordable housing to be both green, and when this becomes very strong, we need to get a lot more mortgages. People should be able to afford cheaper mortgages. So we are working on this, and we are also happy to announce that we've received some funding that would help us to do this, and in time we would provide some more information on this. We'll be grateful if all the stakeholders will support this initiative and then make sure that we are able to achieve our goal. I'll leave you with my last video on, and we'll just go back and play it.
Share this planet. We need all resources. It's up to you.
Okay, so if IT is able to play this for us, we'll just end the presentation from here. Right. Thank you. So if you have any question, please go.
Maybe you ask the so we have the LEED certification and we have the BREEAM certification for radio. What is the difference with this one, the EDGE certification? What is the difference between that, the LEED certification and BREEAM certification and this EDGE certification, and what is the advantage of getting this one? Why should I go for this one as opposed to the LEED certification?
Okay, so the main difference is that EDGE was built for emerging economies. So we actually looked at our needs and how we can tweak it to help ourselves. Now, if you compare LEED to EDGE, LEED has a lot of standards that you will have to meet. Whereas with EDGE, you're looking at just three. We've done our best to simplify it to ensure that it becomes an easy step for developers to jump onto. I think it was last year, I was actually speaking at WAPI, and one of my co-panelists mentioned that he was trying to get a LEED certification for a project here in Lagos, and he felt as if he was, building in Florida. The boat was going to be in Florida, because it's really the conditions that he thought he had to meet didn't really make so much sense looking at the location of the project. So EDGE is looking at how we can answer this question. And then also it is much more affordable compared to the other certification system. Because IFC have been pushing that the building should be built green and all that, but then a lot of developers came and were like, well, it's very expensive to go that route. So this is supposed to become cheaper for them to be able to build green. But then that notwithstanding, we'll be happy if projects use EDGE all the time. But if any project that we are funding, or we are providing finance to, decides to use any of the green building certifications, we are also okay with it.
Thank you. We need to wrap up and move on to the next session. Thank you, Dennis.